Hey guys, here I am again, Barry with Barry's 8-Track and Classic Car Radio Repair. I know it's been more than a month since I posted my last video. Rest assured that more are coming. I am currently 6 away from reaching the 1,000 mark on my videos, so you can bet that I'm getting stuff ready to do videos on. This one won't count because it's not an actual repair of a customer's unit. With this video, as far as to show you guys this little thing here, and I'll give you a better view of it. Uh, this is the little speed control board that I build to go with my universal adjustable speed motors that I'm not going to really show you because they're kind of a trade secret. Um, but pretty much every conversion job I do on an 8-track, and anytime I replace a motor on an 8-track unit, there's not that many motors still available, and I've got all that were available. I've just been buying them from every place I could find them for the last 15, 20 years. But all you really find anymore, you don't really find the small, the small motors that go in these small aftermarket units. So you're just not going to find those anywhere. If you do find them, God only knows what RPM they are. If you don't have the right RPM, you're not going to fix the 8-track player. Nobody wants a unit that runs at chipmunk speed. So from staying up all night, many nights, years and years ago, I did manage to find motors that I can use in pretty much any 8-track as long as it'll physically fit. Only problem is, well, it's not a problem, it's actually a benefit, is they are all adjustable speed. So I have to build these little bitty boards, and I'll give you a better look at it. These are the little bitty speed control boards that I build to go with my motor. This is the actual, there's a tiny little brass screw that's the speed adjustment. It's a multi-turn pot, so it often takes more than one full turn to hear much of a difference, but you can make this thing go from like 16 RPM record speed to 78 RPM record speed, and even more than that. So this is well within the range of any 8-track player that I'll have to work on. Now, this is about 20 parts and about 20 solder connections. Most of the solder connections are covered beneath this resistor that the only place left to put it is on the solder side of the board. So I had to put a little dab of silicone there to keep it from bumping against other wires and things like that, just to give it some stability. Now, to make these boards one at a time would be ridiculously inefficient. It takes about an hour per board for an experienced technician. With a few hours of practice, you can get down to about half hour per board. That's still quite a bit of time to spend on something in the middle of a job, and I can assure you that I don't stop in the middle of a job to build a speed board. I build them in bricks of this time I'm building them in bricks of 18. So there's a brick of 18 of my little speed control boards. As you can see, I've got lines drawn on them so I know where to cut them after I'm finished. And this is a guide that I made which has every step. This is just marking out which holes need to be drilled out bigger to make room for the big leads on these transistors, to make room for wires that I want to push through, things like that. And then of course the next step is to install the first transistor, and then this transistor, and then this capacitor, and then this resistor, and so on until the board's completed. In this manner, I don't have to think nearly as much. When I'm ready for the next step, I just look at the board. Okay, that's what I got to do next. Takes a lot of guesswork out. Of course, it also shows all the solder connections I made. This wire I have to leave long to attach that resistor to, so I've got a warning arrow marked there, and this lead also needs to stay long, so I've got a little a warning arrow there, because it can be a few years between builds of these boards, because this time around I built 200, okay, 198, that's close enough to 200, and so this is how they start out. I build them, 18 on a brick according to my guide here, and then there's one part that's a lot easier to put in if these boards are somewhat separated. So when it's time to install that last part, then they're cut into strips of 6 like this. So here we have 3 strips of 6 that came from oh, probably better if you guys could see what the heck I'm doing here, wouldn't it? doing everything backwards as far as looking at the monitor. So there's my original brick. There's the brick cut up into strips of 6, and this is how I store them, because they're just they just store in a much more stable manner if they're a strip of 6. And then as I need them, I break out a strip, cut them into 6 individual boards, and then I've got boards for the next few days. And then of course you'll notice that this strip's missing a board, and that is because I cut out the last board to hook up to an actual motor and make sure it works. Because when you're doing things like this, I mean, this is basically mass production style. You put on one part on all the boards, and you put the next part on all the boards. Sometimes that's a lot more efficient. Sometimes it's a lot less efficient, just depending on how much time you have to stop to think. So this eliminates the stopping and thinking thing, and it turns it into basically a mindless activity that I can do in my sleep. The only problem doing it like this is if I make one mistake and I repeat that mistake on 200 boards, I am absolutely fire trucked, because I'm not about these are not mounted on a PC board where you can just heat them and pull them up. The leads of these components wrap around the leads of components that were placed previously for support. So there's a certain order you have to put the components on, so that you've always got something to solder the new component to. So that took some thought, and needless to say, it also took some thought to get this thing from schematic form to a tiny little board. The original size of this was probably about that much of a board, because you want to space them out a little bit so you can troubleshoot and things like that. Then once you know the design works, then you can start shrinking it down. And this is about as small as I could get it, basically not quite 1 inch by 1 inch square board. So, and just for aesthetic reasons, I'll go ahead and add this board to that one, first. Well, I'll just go ahead and cut up this one for immediate use. The rest of these will be going into storage. And the reason I had to make a video on these today is because I had forgotten to cut these 2 bricks into strips yet. And so I thought, well, hey, this is a good time to make a video while I still have the complete brick, so I can show customers the progression of events. And in this, this also helps to explain my long turn times, because I have to stop and build stuff, whereas most other radio guys don't. Guys that don't do this basically can't fix many 8-tracks, because a lot of them have bad motors. So this is what I'm stuck with. I'm the guy that has to come up with the solutions that the other guys either can't or are too busy to do. So that's basically, and here's a speed control attached to one of my new motors. So that was all I wanted to say. Just wanted to kind of share this with you guys, the incredibly time-consuming operation of building these speed boards, 198 at a time. That's more than 4,000 solder connections. So you can bet your bippies that when I break off one to test, especially when they're already finished, I'm very glad when it works. If the first one doesn't work, I'll figure, okay, I made a mistake or something got broken, or so I'll test the next one. If 3 in a row don't work, then it it's like this is a week's worth of work, and God only knows what the parts and materials inventory reduction it did. I do still have most of the parts I need to make another 300 or 400 speed boards. 100 of these generally last me about a year, so I'm currently almost at 300 with these ones that I made, because I already had I think 96 before I started making this new batch. So now I've got almost 300 new speed boards to work with, and hopefully I won't have to do it again for hopefully at least 2 more years, because this is just this project here. I mean, I'm sitting all day Indian style, bent over a soldering iron all day long doing the same tedious work. I'm really glad when I have these finished, and they are all now finished, so I'm very happy about that. Quick word on my videos. I know that I use state-of-the-art equipment from the 1960s. That unfortunately is probably not going to change very soon, because I'm just not ready to move up to better stuff. I'm not ready to start using my phone as a camera. I probably will never use my phone as a camera. I'm too old school for that. I've got cameras. Anything that I would need a phone for, I just buy the actual gear. If I need an OBD scanner to troubleshoot a car problem, I buy an OBD scanner. I don't use my phone for everything. Uh, I'm probably the only guy who goes out without his phone. So, anyway, but yeah, on the subject of my video quality, thank you so much for tolerating that. I know it's really crappy. It's my videos are the worst looking ones I've seen on YouTube, so I'm really grateful to everyone who watches them graciously without saying too much stuff. And I'm also thankful to YouTube for not taking them down because the quality is so bad. Someday I will upgrade to better video equipment. Right now, my focus is getting jobs out, getting prepared for the busy season, and all that cool kind of stuff. The videos are just a demonstration of customers' repaired equipment. They don't have to look especially good. They just have to show that the unit works, and that's as far as I'm going with it right now. So, thanks so much for watching, listening, guys. Thank you for sympathizing with me on this little speed control board issue. I am happy to have completed 200 of them in the last week or so. So. I'm pretty happy about that. So thanks again for watching, listening, and we'll see you next time. Very soon, actually, because I've got units to video.